All right, everyone, we're back with another episode of Santa Fe Gloom podcast. Another great guest. First and foremost, would like to thank our sponsors who believe in the Santa Fe Gloom mission and community and fans. Of course, we've got Pantry Dose of Santa Fe, City of Santa Fe Economic Development, Capital Ford, Mercedes Benz of Santa Fe, and Botwin I Group. So thank you all so very much for supporting the mission, coming out to our games, and just having a great time with the Santa Fe Gloom. So today we've got a great guest in David Ricca. Dave, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's an honor, and I'm really excited to be on here. Just excuse a little crazy hair. This is called the long day at work, but yeah. So cool. So
It looks good. It looks
thank you.
good.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We work
so
in sports, so it's great. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
absolutely. So Dave, founder of Just Live Soccer,
yep,
Street Soccer USA Growth Advisor,
yep.
mental health advocate, and a 9/11 survivor.
That's
So before we go into all of those great things,
mm,
share with our audience and our fans just your first memories of playing soccer and just
sure.
kind of your growing up and just your love and your passion for the game that brings people like ourselves, me being in Santa Fe, you being on the East Coast,
Totally. Yeah,
New
for sure.
Jersey and New York on an afternoon and enjoying 30, 40 minutes of a great conversation is the beautiful game of soccer.
That's right. Thank you again for having me. Absolutely delighted to share. So I grew up in an Argentinian household. My parents are first immigrants from Argentina, came to New York City, I think, in the early 60s, and slowly all their brothers and sisters came over for work. And happens to be that they're all soccer players. My uncles, my dad, and then when my brother was born, then there was a small community of Argentinians. So my dad and all the other men had a Argentinian soccer social club where it's like literally you have cappuccinos and stuff, but they also had a team. And I grew up in that little soccer club, so literally just my running around as a kid with a lollipop in the soccer club. It was very a lot of clean fun. It was just literally a social club for Argentinian, and then we would do different parties and everything. So yeah, I grew up with Argentinian culture in every step of my childhood, and still to this day. And all my cousins and all of the friends of the Argentinian community that we were involved with in Paterson, New Jersey. Um, all played soccer. They were all older, at least 7 years older. My brother's 7 years older, so all older. I was always the younger one, and so always missed out in playing and stuff. So, uh, my brother reminded me that when I was 4 or 5, they started, making me, touch the ball and just kick it against a wall. That we had a wall next to our house at the time, so I would just kick it against the wall. I don't remember, but then after a while, I started remembering I would sleep in my ball. I had Maradona posters all over the place, Diego Maradona back then. So yeah, and then in one time I went to play for a club called Hudson United. That's where all my cousins went to play. They had a younger division, obviously, and that's where I started my first game ever to play soccer, which was about it was a U6, U7. It was very, very young age, and but then I would play almost every day when my brother and cousins, who are 7 years older than me, so they would not give me any slack whatsoever. They would hit me, and at that time I would cry or whatever it was and be pissed off. But then it's really it helped me in the where I am now to take hits and all that stuff, and then where I went in my soccer career. So yeah, started very, very young. It was literally opened my eyes, and soccer was there. So it still continues to be there for sure. Yeah, yeah. So
And I'm sure you guys were super excited in this last World Cup.
oh man, let me tell you, the first World Cup, 1986, that when we won in '78, but I was 1 years old in '78, so I don't remember that at all. But obviously, in the '86 World Cup in Mexico, Everybody watched it together at the Argentinian game. I'm talking hundreds of people. And then once they won that championship, it was the cops came to close out the streets. Somebody knew, and that was the first environment that I saw. Wow, the power of this game and bringing all these people together. And there was not just Argentinians were there, like there was Italians there because right around the corner there was a Roma soccer club, social club around there too. Right next to it there was a Napoli. So they all came out. We supported each other. I mean, there was thousands of people in this little street just celebrating, jumping up, screaming "Vamos, vamos!" Just the most amazing experience I ever felt at that age, and seeing people together, laughing, crying, hugging, kissing, whatever it was. And that's my first taste of the beautiful game that I received, and then it stuck with me forever. I said, "Wow, this is absolutely amazing that a game can be this powerful." Yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And talk us through the Just Live soccer,
yeah.
because I feel like
So
that's also connecting communities and people
totally,
and
yeah,
unifying everybody.
yeah. So you know, when I was playing in the year 2000, I got hurt a couple times, blew out my knee. So then I'm like, wow, I have to work. So I didn't like studying that much. If I had to, I would study, but it wasn't like I had a business degree. Like I had then if I changed from liberal arts to a business degree because my brother was bothering me. Hey, you don't never know, you might get hurt. I didn't think so. So my advice to all the children out there, have that plan B, please. Learn it from me because if I didn't have, and then from there, when I got hurt, I needed to look for a job in the network of my soccer community at 21 years old, 20 years old. I started working at Morgan Stanley through my network of soccer, and I there was a training program that was just starting when I got hurt. And my friend that was there, he was a vice president. He started there after college. He's a little older than me, and he got me into Morgan Stanley. Did phenomenally well, did amazing. Um, I'll backtrack a little bit. That's when 9/11 happened in 2001. I was only there for a year, and I was in the World Trade Center. Went through the whole fiasco. Again, just remember, soccer from up to that date was everything for me. I mean, it was part of my life. I lived my life. I worked like a teammate in the soccer field. And I
Yeah.
still do it
Yeah.
to this day. Integrity, all that stuff. And so that day came. It changed my life forever, and it still does, unfortunately. And
You
I
were
had
in one of the buildings?
yeah, I was in Tower Two World Trade Center. I worked for Morgan Stanley on the 73rd floor. It was a year I was there. I was the first one in, last one out. I had a cubicle. The first thing that happened, the lights flickered on and off. I look to my right, and I look at the guy to my right. He's like, I think it's a air conditioning thing or whatever, because it was a very quick flicker on and off. We had no idea. So about seconds later, or not even a minute later, somebody that had an office facing Tower One comes out of the office and he goes, "Everybody get the F out, get the F out." So when he opened his door, I could see the window looking out to the other tower. And all I saw was, I mean, it looked like a tick parade, just papers all over the place. But I also saw the hole in Tower One. I'm like, wow, this is strange. So I didn't think that. I'm thinking about it now. I just got up. As soon as I heard him say, "Everybody get F out," I got up immediately, went to the staircase and followed everybody else. And we were in the 73rd coming down. It was two by two because everybody's coming out of each floor. So it's so packed beyond you could possibly imagine. But everything was in order. At that moment, we were thinking it's a small plane because those times you're allowed to have a charter plane and fly around and it'll do your thing, right? And then there was a couple almost accident and stuff, and we just thought it was an accident, complete accident. So nothing phased us. We were like, oh, we'll get back up before the market opens at 9:30, et cetera, et cetera. But that wasn't the case, unfortunately. So we're going down 73, 72, 71. Somewhere in the threes, it would be 31, 32. I don't remember in the 30s, sorry. But I remember the number three. So it was somewhere in the 30s. And that's when the second plane hit my building, somewhere in the 60s. They say 60 to 75 or something like that. So I'm not quite sure. I don't follow the stats or anything like that. But that's when my life changed forever, and that's why we're here today. And we all fell to the ground. The hit was so hard I can't even explain it in words, and we all fell to the ground on top of each other, people coming from the floors, just falling. And then literally while we're getting up and we're looking up, the building is literally moving from left to right, or forward, backwards, whatever it was moving and making a crackling sound. In my head, I'm thinking outside these two towers, this thing's going to flip over because it's moving like this. I mean, I never seen anything like, obviously, and hopefully I never will. That an actual massive building is literally moving right in front of my eyes, and it was two at a time. And then the sprinklers went off, so we were all getting wet and everything. But the nerves, the panic, all started to kick in, and crying out there, saying I'm sorry to my mom if I ever hurt you, my dad, and my nephews that were very young at the time, and then there was huge confusion. Nobody knew what to do, so we kept walking down. Then the speakers, somebody said go back up. Unfortunately, people did go back up. Um, you know, um, God rest their soul, and rest in peace. The ones that went up, one of them was my friend, and he didn't make it out, unfortunately. So, close friend from work and Morgan Stanley helped me out a lot. And so I said I can't stay in these four little corners at the moment. So little by little, we're all walking down, literally walking step by step, because you couldn't run because there was thousands of people. So right in front of you. So if you're gonna and everybody was walking calmly. Thank goodness it wasn't like trampling on top of each other. So we kept walking down. Every flight we're walking down that building, I'm looking at those walls. They are moving and making a noise, like crackling noises. And it didn't smell like smoke or anything. It smelled like burned electric wires. So whatever that was from, I don't know. Obviously something electric, or even if it was like, I don't know. But that's what I smelled. And the building's moving, and just freaking out. I mean, that's not even the proper word. Just beyond, incomprehensive incomprehensive of what I felt at that moment. And then finally, we got down to the bottom floor, which was a mall back then, World Trade Center. And as soon as I got to that mall, I was running to the exit. There was only one exit that they were allowing to. The chief of police and everything, they had a station in the World Trade Center right by the mall, right in the mall, in the building. And and then I was hearing loud noises, bang, bang, bang. I mean, so loud. I'm like, what is that? And unfortunately, man, this is crazy. Unfortunately, crazy, sad, the whole whatever you want to call it. I say crazy when I'm emotional like this. It was so loud. It felt like a car was coming down. Unfortunately, it was the people that were jumping out, and he told me that, and I couldn't believe what was going on. I still did not know it was a terrorist attack. And all that. Back then, I didn't even think about terrorist attack. All I thought about was soccer and Morgan Stanley, and call it a day, And when I went outside, I finally found one of my best friends still is my best friend to this day, Brad. I saw him outside. We hugged and hugged and hugged, and 5 minutes later, the we're starting to hear a really loud roar, and we're looking up. We're like, "Oh man!" So we started running towards the river, towards the Brooklyn Bridge, and he kept saying, "This is a terrorist attack." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, I had no idea. I wasn't thinking straight. I left my phone upstairs, but I couldn't call to New Jersey where my parents lived to tell them I'm okay. I made it out, um, but we were running towards the river, and then I was asking people for their phones. Did not, none of the phones called out. So
Mhm, mhm.
long story short, my parents didn't get in touch with me till 8:30 that night. Friends and family, yeah. So it was a long day for all of us. And my friend Brad, who lived on 40th and First Avenue, which is the Midtown East in New York City, we walked all the way up there, and just in shock. I mean, I was going to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge to go into the East River because I was so afraid. But if you've ever been to New York, the East River is a place you don't jump into because it's really bad. Yeah. So we walked up there and yeah, I was there for a long time in this apartment until I could finally get somebody that lived in New York. Um, call my parents. They lived in Long Island. They called my parents. They couldn't get through. So um, I tried it again probably around 6:37 because I found a train, one train that was leaving Penn Station going to Bloomfield, New Jersey, where I wanted my family to pick me up. And then finally they got through. The person told, it was Brad's dad, by the way, rest in peace, that called them and say, "Hi, this is Brad's dad. We are, thank you, Mr. Stewart, by the way, they're going through this. They're okay. They're at my son Brad's house. David is going to take this train. Please meet him here." So still couldn't get in touch with him. I walk into the train station with all the dust on me and stuff, and the stuff all over my eyes. But I just wanted to go home, you know. And this was the only train leaving New York at the time. So got in the train. They picked me up, and yeah, it was just a sad moment in my life that night, and then years after, still is. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
The uh the Just Live Soccer, I'm assuming, is inspired by this
correct.
story,
Yes.
correct?
So, yep. So the next day, soccer was done. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about it. The PTSD and the anxiety and everything, the depression was so severe that I didn't want to go out. Didn't want to go out. But we needed to get back to the office somehow, some way. That Thursday, I was back in another office due to the fact that we had clients. We just wanted to let them know that we were alive and also keep my job because everybody was going into the same office. So thank goodness everything worked out. I kept my job, then took a week or something like that off. And yeah, it was tough for all of us. I couldn't get out of bed. I got loud noises. I didn't want to get in public transportation. I would drive into the
Yeah.
city, and yeah, it was really bad. Yeah, and soccer um, was out of my memory, out of my life. I didn't even think about it. I was eating like crap. I was going out in the city, partying like I said,
Mhm.
19, whatever that song is, and like I'm going to Studio 54. And my friends that are really close to me, they felt the I'm talking best friends, childhood friends, that they felt, the hurt. Probably not as much as me, but they thought they lost a really good friend. So we escaped by going out back in the day. Those clubbing days in New York City were huge, and we would just go out to clubs and spend an astronomical amount of money just escaping from what we just went through. And did that for 6 years, and it wasn't helping me whatsoever. I didn't do therapy, I didn't do anything. Um, so doing really well at Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, doing beyond well, and I had to leave the world and so in 2006 I resigned from Morgan Stanley. My uncle had a farm in Argentina, and he said, "Hey, why don't you just take a breather, get out of the world?" He used to be a coach as well too. Get out of the world and come to my farm. We'll eat right, we'll read together, and we'll train. So what made me change my mind was when I was going to when I was living in the city, and then I went to go see my mom in New Jersey, and she was crying on my bed that she always left the same when I left to go out away to college, and she was crying, bawling. And asked my stepdad, I'm like, "Why is she crying?" He's like, "Hey, she's been doing that since 2001." So, I mean, that's every night crying in my bed and praying and or whatever she was doing. And I said, "Wow, I'm not just ruining my life; I'm ruining her life. So it's time to take a breather." I said, because I didn't stop. I kept working,
Mhm.
kept going out and all that. And then that's when I left the world, no cell phone, and was at my uncle's house. If anybody needed to get in touch with me, they call him. And yeah, and I was there for 1 year, one full year, focused on my health, my mental health, my physical health, and then soccer. Got back into training and everything. The things that make me happy, the soccer training, being out in that field for 90 minutes or training, everything else is irrelevant at that moment. So that's how Just Live Soccer started. Because when I left, Argentina came back, I said, I got to do something about this. So I was driving one day to Vermont. I said, I saw Just Do It. And I'm like, well, just live soccer. I mean, because that's what I was living, just
Hmm.
soccer, football
Hmm.
with growing up and everything. So that was just who I am, just living soccer. Every day you talk soccer, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So I started this, which was first time when I started it. It was a tournament organized. We did tournaments, smaller tournaments, nothing big like other big guys, but we did smaller tournaments,
All
but
outdoors.
all outdoors and some indoors. My first one was the President's Cup. I'd say in 2006, we called it the Just Live Soccer President's Cup, and 20% of the proceeds, even if I lost money, would go to a soccer charity. And the first charity that I gave to was Street Soccer USA, which we'll talk in a few minutes. So it's just like a full circle.
Yeah.
So that's why I started Joseph Soccer. Then we had a little podcast at radio station at the thing, because and yeah, and that's where it started, and then that's where where I am now, because I made the decision to start it and start something for sure. Yeah, and yeah,
Talk us through your opinion on the pay to play model in the
yeah,
United States. One thing that we're always preaching here in Santa Fe and on our channel is just having the accessibility and the resources to go out and play soccer.
yeah,
And the traveling clubs and how much money it takes to be on a club team. Uh,
exactly. Yeah,
I know that's something special in your heart because you started these initiatives.
right,
So, just kind of talk us through, because the United States, we want to be the first in the world in the World Cup,
right.
but we're not. And
Yeah.
why do you think we're not?
Oh,
I feel
yeah,
like basketball, football, baseball to some extent. I guess we have all the best athletes in the world, in the United
yeah,
States.
yeah. We have
Um,
300 million people, you know what I mean? 315 or whatever it is. But yeah,
yep.
I mean, so the numbers are there. It's not like we're a small country and we don't have the resources. They are there. They're 100% there. It's just how to, if let's just, I'm going to use Hispanic because I'm Argentinian. So there's a Hispanic family. It could be in from any race in the Hispanic world, that they came to this country. The kid's phenomenal. They don't know what to do with it. So my goal is, I was fortunate enough to manage the Innovate to Grow fund that was given by US Soccer to go out into the communities and help the underserved communities with resources, with
Mhm.
if it was funds that they needed, or if it was recruiting, coaching, education, anything you could possibly anything that they can utilize to further their growth in the game. And I was fortunate to do that for 3 years. The most amazing things I've seen, happiness and sadness at both, to see that if I wasn't there at the moment, there wouldn't be any resources and stuff like that. And and I'm only one person. So yeah. So
Do you think it worked, that initiative?
I think it really, really worked, because I'm still in touch with all those people, and I give them the resources, especially in the Hispanic community. It's very, very powerful for me. I give them I just how important the Hispanic community is, and I want them to get out there as much as they can. I teach GED classes, volunteer. I
Mhm.
teach English as a second language so they can, get better education
Mhm.
and all that stuff. So, um, I'm all for it, and getting them on the teams that my friends own pay to play clubs, and they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
They, they're doing really good. They have good players, they have bad players, but they don't have the time to go out there and do that. So I help them with that. I the pay to play organizations that are really close to me, and I really believe that they're doing the right thing. I can name so many now.
Mhm.
I give them. I give the. I work mostly Hispanics or whatever. Any community that's underserved, I will
Yeah.
help and get them to a club, and then the club we negotiate or whatever, a club academy, some type of scholarship or some type of payment plan and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that's the best I can do, but at
Yeah.
least getting the opportunity to play against high level leagues, tournaments, etc. Hopefully, be seen.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Touching base back on to the World Cup,
yeah.
the United States is going to host the World Cup, I guess, in a couple of years, or North America.
Right, North America.
Um, Give us your background on the World Cup. I know that you've worked at the World Cup, I
Yeah,
think in
yeah,
2010,
Yep.
and what I guess the United States can look forward to
Yeah.
in the World Cup being played in, I think, 12 cities, something
Probably.
like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Something like
in the
that.
United States. So kind
Yeah.
of give us a preview, your predictions, and just how do we get, that person who like knows obviously about soccer, but
Mhm.
how do we get them to be a huge fan of soccer?
I agree, and it's starting to become that due to the women's game blowing up, as we all know, and I'm so
Yep.
happy about that. I have
Yep.
so many friends that are on Gotham and the GM, all that stuff, and
Yep.
there's
That's
a
a
lot
great name, by the way.
Gotham. Yeah, it
Great
is.
name.
Gotham FC.
Yeah, it's good.
And, they're in my backyard, and they play in the Red Bull Stadium. So and the Red Bulls and everything. So there is a monster opportunity, and obviously Messi helped with the fan base. So there's a lot of fans that it's that they call it the Messi effect, I guess.
Yep.
There's so many new fans out there that is incredible to see the United States behind. Like if you go to Portland or even I forgot what some MLS teams where they have the supporters group, and more MLS teams and USL teams, even from the smallest cities to the smallest towns or whatever, they're starting to have these supporters group where they
Mhm.
people go out there and support their club, their community by being part of supporters. And I go around every weekend, probably 4 or 5 times a week, either practices, after my work day and stuff like that, and doing the stuff that I need to do for the soccer world, and then go out there and see what's out there, what's not working, and then just get feedback, research, and I'm seeing a lot of great things happening, and it's very exciting. I worked in the World Cup in South Africa in 2010. I was there for 2 months in the marketing and media department. It's the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Cape Town is a beautiful, beautiful city. South Africa, gorgeous, gorgeous country. People are nice, and there wasn't that many people that got picked to do this. I literally called the embassy in South Africa. Remember, this is all comes back to being on Wall Street, being not aggressive but persistent, taking
Mhm.
taking
Mhm.
rejection, all that. So it was nothing to me, and it like first year was horrendous for me. Somebody would pick up the phone, I would hang up before. You know what I mean? So it's like, I was so nervous. You know what I mean? Is this John? Oh, click. You know what I mean? So I'm like hoping the secretary answers, but so sometimes they
Yeah.
would pick up. So yeah,
You
man.
don't strike me as a real nervous person
Yeah,
anymore,
not
Dave.
anymore, but
Not
man,
anymore.
yeah, it's been a blessing. I was fortunate to do that and go through that the hell of getting on the phones and talking to people who are very wealthy and just knew their stuff, very smart people. So yeah, I went there and I cold called the one of the delegates in South African embassy in Washington D.C. And I told him I send in my application this time. He's like, "Oh, let me check." He goes, "Yeah, you send me a lot of emails." I said, "Well, I like to follow up." So long story short, they brought me down there. I had to go to Washington D.C., interview with them, and I got the gig. It was the most amazing thing in the world. I almost didn't go the 2 days before my flight. I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't go, but I'm so glad I pulled the trigger to go, and I went. And it changed my whole landscape in the soccer world of how powerful this game is globally. Because before I just knew the United States and Argentina, and the Hispanic, Central and South America, but just the global. I mean, I was hanging out with you can hang out with anybody. Like I can go to Santa Fe right now and hang out. We could just talk like we're talking now because we love the beautiful game. So we can make friends anywhere around the world. I mean, so it's just been what the beautiful game is. It brings people together. So yeah.
I'm googling right now the World Cup venues. I'm assuming New York's one of them.
Yes, the MetLife Stadium is one of them. I think one of them is a semifinal.
Okay. And
Yeah,
the finals in Dallas?
Dallas, correct. Yep. So gonna have to travel to Dallas when Argentina makes it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, so that's in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
yep.
So
Top
yeah, I'm
notch.
just doing a Google
Yeah,
search.
yeah.
It looks like host cities: Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Vancouver, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Mexico City,
Yes.
Monterey.
Monterey. Yep. And then there's a lot of and then what's going to help us grow the fan base? They're doing so many fan fests that
Yes. Yeah.
they're starting to plan right now. The fan fest. Um, FIFA's putting a lot of money into these to pick up the sport in terms of the fan base. So it's going to be really exciting. The World Cup is in 2026. We have the Copa America starting in June.
Yes. Yep.
Then we have the Club World Cup Soccer. I think that's how it's pronounced, but that's 2025 here in America. Then the World Cup. Then hopefully 2027 will be the Women's World Cup. We put a bid in, so we'll see what happens. But soccer main is here, brother.
It's here.
Yeah, it's definitely here, and I can't be any more excited. I position myself in a proper way with my good team that I have working with me. I don't like for me, and meeting people like yourself, and really focusing on the game and meeting the right people that we can make a difference for sure. Yeah.
So switching gears from the real high level of World Cup to the local level.
Right.
So I'll share with you what we do here in Santa Fe, which is the Santa Fe Gloom, and it's a futsal team.
Right.
We're in the National Futsal Premier League. There's 8 teams. We play at Santa Fe High School, which is my old high school gym. That gym can hold up to about 2,500, 3,000 people.
Wow.
So it's a great gym.
Man.
Yeah, high school sports, basketball's big here.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
And then we finished out our season at Santa Fe Indian School. I think that holds probably even 3,000 people. An amazing gym. Unbelievable. It's like a junior college.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I could.
Unbelievable.
I'm
unbelievable.
Wow.
So I'll send you pictures of it. I mean, it's got 2 video screens. It's unbelievable. So our local small market sports are here in Santa Fe, which is great. We've got a Santa Fe Fuego. They're another baseball team. So we've definitely starting to have it here in Santa Fe. We've got the New Mexico United. So they play in the USL. They've got a huge fan base, very much loved in New Mexico. So, I mean, going from the World Cup to, smaller markets,
for sure.
Give us your experience in just like arena soccer, and futsal and street soccer and how all that connects. Because one of my goals is, having a kid step on the court or the arena at Santa Fe Gloom and make it to the futsal national team, right? Or making it to an M1 arena team,
right?
And then having those paths for players like ourselves that didn't have that opportunity. Because when we were playing, I'm sure you're not too much older than me. There wasn't that USL. There wasn't a lot of these things going on.
Yeah, right.
So
the reason I got a full sorry.
No, you're good. Go for it.
The reason I got a full scholarship in college was it was a connection with my cousin, this college coach, and I ended up at St. Joe's in Vermont. I mean, and I've never been to Vermont. It's absolutely freezing, but beautiful country. Sorry, beautiful state, not country. We live in a beautiful country, right? So, it was. I mean, because he knew somebody, and they saw. I went up there. They saw me play, and then the rest is history. And the futsal. I grew up playing futsal. Grew up playing on
it's probably a street, right?
Street. I grew up in the streets, and that's what I was trying to say. The streets, the sidewalks. I remember when I went to Argentina when I was a kid. That's the first time I was introduced to futsal, because to them, like, hey, here we like, hey, let's go get a coffee, let's go get a drink. Or to them, it's like, hey, let's go play 4v4, and then there's all these little futsal things around. I'm like, wow, and fell in love with it. I used to play it, but then when we played it like in like a futsal arena, it was like, wow, this is amazing. And it does so much. You got to think quicker, and I mean, it really it changes your mind on how you think with the game. So if you're using both sides of your heads, and I'm not a psychiatrist or anything, but talking for myself, because you got to think quicker. You don't have that much time. You don't have any time, really, I don't think. And so it makes you a better player, for sure. It makes you a better player, better human. You're using your head. There's amazing people doing great things. One of my friends, Peter from the UK, is a futsal consultant, beyond a huge fan. Then Keith Tozer, who's here in America, he's part of the one of the commissioners of the indoor place as well. Wanted to give him a shout out because I talked to him a lot, and then he's doing wonderful things for them.
He's the commissioner of the MASL, correct?
Great. Yep. Good friend of mine. Love what he's doing. Hardest working guy I know in the futsal world, and a huge advocate for it. So happy to see that finally we're getting some recognition. He is and what is
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah, no, I think even, when I got introduced to the MASL, which is arena soccer,
right
maybe about 3 years ago, I would say,
right.
under Keith's leadership, it's definitely grown quite a
Oh,
bit.
great. Yeah,
Now they have a draft.
that's right.
We
Yeah,
were talking about this earlier. I forget
San
where we
Diego.
were at. I think it was like Chicago.
No, San
Um,
Diego. San Diego.
yeah, there you go. So San Diego's going to be in October, but
Okay.
I'm saying the one that
Oh,
I
the
went
one
out.
you were at. Yeah, you forgot. I
Yeah,
don't know. Yeah,
it's
Chicago might be. Yeah, yeah,
super cool. I
yeah,
mean,
man.
unbelievable that very
Or the
professional, and
combines. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
now these college players can try out for a MSL team, right? And
exactly.
that's one of our goals here in Santa Fe is to have that arena team, just like our neighbor in Albuquerque. They have a MSL2 team, so that's one of our goals. But to have that path for players in the MASL and that draft, Keith, that was a great idea.
And I
Um,
think like with the opportunities out there with USL, the indoor leagues, I mean, if you're a good player or want to improve, a
yep,
very coachable
yep,
person, you're going to get these opportunities no matter what. I mean, they're out there. You just got to do your research like anything else. Now,
mhm,
I mean, do your research. What's good for my in a grassroots perspective, what's good for my son or daughter, or
mhm,
whatever it
mhm.
is. So yeah, the opportunity there. But like you said, when we were younger, we had absolutely nothing, and we had to find opportunities for us, and
Yeah,
that taught me to tell the people that I'm involved with, you got to do your research. You got to research. You got to find opportunities that are out there,
yeah,
and I try to help them with that as much as I can. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad for social media because I can blast it out and then more people can obviously look at it. Yeah. So
We'll end on this, Dave. Talk us through the mental health component and just
yeah.
everything you've learned, and you being an advocate. I know that's a huge thing in
Mm,
sports.
yeah.
It's so fascinating that one of my good friends brought up a real good point with even Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And how he went through some mental health stuff when he went to baseball.
Right. That's right.
It's unbelievable. I mean, the best athlete, best basketball player. He
You never
even,
think. Yeah. Yeah.
had his trials and tribulations as well. So,
Yeah.
kind of talk us through your experience with
Sure.
that. You've obviously touched on at 9/11,
Yeah.
but just bringing it home with, soccer and
Totally.
just how
Yeah.
do we stay tough and how do we have the beautiful game that we love and how does it incorporate into, the real world of work?
That's
Because,
right.
you know, so
Yeah, we never know. Yeah, totally. Great question. And something good. I'm a huge mental health advocate because I deal with mental health issues every day. I mean, I the difference between now and before went to Argentina to leave the world and focus on myself and only myself is back then I didn't have the tools or resources of what to do when loud noises, nightmares, and all that. I had no idea. Now I left the world, so there wasn't the outside noise to not help me think of the right thing and get help. I mean, I got help from my uncle. I lost 45 pounds, got back into soccer shape.
mhm,
Again, that's endorphins up, and then, but it helped me with my PTSD tremendously because making that decision to leave amazing work, amazing job, amazing career that I did at Morgan Stanley was something that a lot of people don't do. So,
right, right,
I was depressed. So unfortunately, depression, some people, even while they're depressed, they still got to go to work because you got to put food on the table. I'm fortunate if I'm depressed, I could sleep for a day or two, and the, my house is not going to be lost.
right.
So some people that don't have that, unfortunately. So the thing that I'm always pushing for is ask for help, even if it's your coach and you really trust him.
Yep.
If you don't want to tell your parents, I mean, I'm very concerned for the youth these days because they're playing a lot. They got a lot of pressure on them. So there's going to be anxiety. There's going to be mental health issues. I didn't even want to talk about the suicide that's going on and the drugs and all that stuff, which
Mhm.
is way beyond. So I have learned to live with the loud noises. That's the only thing that hasn't disappeared in my PTSD and anxiety. Immediately I hear a loud noise, it can be a truck hitting a
Yeah,
pothole
yeah,
in New York City. I come back to that day immediately, instantly. I'm right there in the 30th staircase,
Yeah.
which sucks, man.
Yeah.
I learn to accept it. I'm like, okay, here I am. I'm in my office right now talking to my buddy from Santa Fe, New
Mhm.
Mexico. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm safe. So that's how I learned to do it. That's how I learned with therapy. I'm part of the World Trade Center Health Services. It's free therapy for life. Thank goodness. I talk to friends, close friends. Hey, I'm having a bad day. Everybody's going to have bad days. Sometimes my days are worse than others due to the fact of the PTSD, the anxiety coming up. So yeah, sometimes I wake up sweating like a dog, and I'm like, oh man, what's going on? And it must have been dreams and nightmares that I don't remember much. So my advice to anyone is if you're afraid to ask for help, um, talk to somebody that you really trust, and then have them listen to you. Even just splurt it out, or go onto Reddit and
Mhm.
be anonymous, and just they have all these
Mhm.
different groups: depression, anxiety, PTSD. Go on there and just go nuts. I mean, when I learned about Reddit that's anonymous, I'm like, wow. So I would write stories on there, man. You would get all these comments. I'm like, wow, this is. I've been looking for this my whole life. It's just amazing. So and then you could do anonymous and amazing. There's groups and groups and groups for help. There's not just groups of there's actual groups out there that are actually helping people,
Mhm.
and the young kids, young adults, or even adults all know how to use Facebook or all the other social channels. Get on those groups. Those groups, there are people there to help you, man, and myself included. So I'll talk to anyone that ever needs a chat. That's it. I'm an ear. I have an ear. I have 2 ears to listen and one mouth to talk. So hopefully I don't talk too much. So yeah,
No,
for
it's
sure.
perfect, Dave. I mean, thank you so much
Yeah, man. It's my.
for this
It's
conversation. I think you missed one thing on the mental health is you
yeah.
didn't mention playing soccer.
Oh, that's right. So when I played soccer, started playing soccer again immediately. Like I said in the beginning of this interview, when you're there in the 90 minutes, I call it a sporting war, because whatever's going on around your life outside of this field,
Yep.
the 90 minutes, 11 versus 11, 7 versus 7,
Yep.
nothing else matters.
Yep.
So for me, it's therapeutic. I go
Yep.
out there. Listen, I can't move my legs the other day, but I went to go play in an open league. I think I told you this. I clicked on the wrong button. It wasn't over 40, so it was open. So you got these other kids running. And in my head, the ego and all that, and I'm trying to run with these guys. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm 47 years old. So this was last Wednesday. My legs are still killing me. So, so yeah, soccer really changed me, and I continue to play it because it's just a game that builds you up, builds teamwork, camaraderie, community, all the good things. And I recommend it for anyone that's going to just go out there, kick the ball around. You'll get. I call them dopamine hits. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You'll get them, and then it'll be a good start to your journey on recovery from this anxiety and all that stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I'm always available. I mean, you can reach out to me. I'm all over socials and stuff. So for
Yeah.
sure.
We'll tag your socials on the
Great.
description.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome.
Dave, thank you so very much. We're
Yeah.
gonna definitely do this again.
Yeah.
My brother, he lived in New York City. He was also there at 9/11. He went to New
Wow,
York
that's
Law
neat.
School,
Yeah,
so
man.
he's got his own story.
Totally. Yeah.
But my point is that he's still got family there. I've got family there. So I'll definitely go and visit you.
Yeah.
Maybe during the World Cup. You never
Totally, man.
know.
Come
I
here,
mean,
and we're gonna do activation events for the kids,
love
the
it.
surrounding areas, all over wherever the things wherever they're being hosted. There's gonna be activation events weeks and weeks before. So get involved, reach out to somebody that's a host city manager, and then
Yep.
there'll be plenty of opportunities to get yourself, your kid, your club involved. And one last thing, I'm coming to visit you in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
We'll get some dinner, get your credit
Yep.
card ready because you're buying me dinner, so we're good. So,
Deal. Deal.
awesome,
Yeah, I
awesome.
want to check out a Gotham game.
Yes, yeah, man, they're amazing. So much fun too. It's being run by an amazing person that I know, Yale from she's a GM, New Jersey native, old EP,
Yep.
played professional. It's being run, and now it's amazing investors really, really putting money into it, but not just money, sweat
Yeah.
equity, getting out there for the fans and stuff. So it's exciting to see. I think next 5 years are going to be the most exciting thing for the U.S. in soccer. So
Yeah. I
uh,
love it.
pretty pumped up. Yeah. So great, man.
All right, Dave. Thank you so much
Yeah.
from all of our fans here in Santa Fe. You've got an invitation to come out to watch a Gloom game.
And we're looking forward to it. So we'll talk soon, my brother.
Cool.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Dave.
Bye bye. Thank you for the podcast. Bye bye.